Good morning. We're on record regarding the first annual accounting in this file. May I have the names of our participants, please?
Good morning, Jessica Kelly on behalf of the petitioners.
Caitlin Hassel, Jonathan's mother.
Jonathan Hassel Sr., his father.
All right, very well. Ms. Kelly.
Good morning, Your Honor. The petitioners are the parents of Jonathan Jasso Jr. and also the grantors of his Special Needs Trust. As you recall, the trust was established with the proceeds of a legal settlement and was approved by this court in June of 2023. The court also has approved the use of trust funds for legal fees and to purchase the home for the beneficiary. Today, we are simply here before the court to request the approval of the first annual account. You'll see that the account shows two sources of income, some investment growth during 8 months of the year, and an accidental deposit by the petitioners. The account also shows 4 expense items, some investment loss during 4 months of the year, some expected bank fees, closing costs on the home purchase, and the legal fees that I mentioned that were used to set up the trust. The account shows that overall, the value of the trust has grown by more than $32,000 with assets in the form of the home, a MyAble account, and the Morgan Stanley investments. We did include the statements verifying those amounts, but the petitioners are also available to provide testimony about the account details if it would help the court. All of the interested parties were provided with the accounting, today's petition, and notice of this hearing, but we have received no objections. Therefore, we're asking the court to approve the first accounting of the Supplemental Needs Trust for the benefit of Jonathan Justin Jasso Jr.
Okay, so the petition for use of funds to help purchase the home with your clients to repay that line of credit does not say anything about using those funds for closing costs. Can you help me understand how that decision was made?
I'm sorry, the question, the order allowed the purchase of the home. Am I to understand that the closing costs would have been borne by the parents? I'm new to the file, so I'm just asking for a little bit of context for the question.
So the motion asks for approval to essentially front the execution of the sale with the understanding that the parents would be repaying for the purchase of the home by use of a line of credit.
Okay. I know Caitlin in particular is really savvy about how the different funds have been used, and so I would think that maybe the folks could answer to how those payments are being done.
Very good. And then is there a trust established? It says that there's approved attorney fees for trust setup. I also have some questions about that.
Yeah, the trust itself, as I recall, was an exhibit attached to one of the original petitions. I believe the petition that requested the setup of the trust included the proposed trust itself. And so the order approving the funding and supervision of the supplemental trust was filed on June 7th, 2023. And that order also approved the fees of the $3,500 to the Darren Finley Law Firm to do that.
That's right. Thank you. All right. So just the questions then about the what's happening with that purchase of the home and whether or not there's a repayment plan would be good. So you said you'd like to hear from which of your clients?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose we should have them both sworn, but Caitlin is the one with whom I've had most of the conversations. But either one is welcome, in my opinion, to talk about how they're handling that on a month-to-month basis.
So you'd like them both sworn?
Yes, please.
We could swear in Mr. Jonathan and Ms. Caitlin Hassel, please.
Please raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes. Okay, so who are you going to begin with questioning?
I'm going to start with Caitlin.
right.
Caitlin, would you state your name for the record, please?
Caitlin Hasso?
Thank you. And do you serve as the trustee of the Supplemental Needs Trust for the benefit of Jonathan Justin Jasso Jr.?
Yes.
And does anyone serve as your co-trustee?
Yes, my husband, Jonathan.
Thank you. Could you respond to the judge's concerns around the line of credit and the payment or the payments that you're all making?
Yes. So originally we had petitioned with the court to utilize a line of credit instead of utilizing the trust funds outright to purchase the home as a creative way to try and help the trust grow faster. That was not actually able to go through in the time needed to close the home. That the hearing took a little bit longer to get on record. So then we were able, it was suggested by our attorney at the time to go ahead and purchase the home with the trust funds, but then we're not able to take trust funds and put it back into the liquidity line of credit. So then we are not able to do that because how do I explain it? The trust is invested in a stock portfolio. You're not able to take liquidity access line and put that into a stock portfolio because that's ultimately what is backing. Like the liquidity access line, we would have to have those funds available in the trust. So we can't really double dip with those. So we're not able to take the trust money. So we're basically going to just be paying back the trust instead of utilizing that line of credit. So there's not going to be interest or anything accrued on that line of credit. It's going to be the same concept. It's just going to be now those payments go straight to the trust.
I'm confused. Did you use trust fund monies to purchase the house?
Yes.
But you didn't have authority to do that. You had authority to use it as leverage for a line of credit. That was a very specific request. Because the trust funds are supposed to be used just for him. And so when there's the idea that it's going to be used for the entire family or for the parents, generally speaking, I don't approve that. The only reason I approved this was because it wasn't actually a liquidation of the trust funds. It was just petition paragraph number 7 specifically says petitioners are requesting authority to use trust assets as collateral for a line of credit to purchase the home. So what we have here, unfortunately, Ms. Kelly, looks like maybe a violation of what was approved.
I was under the impression that our original petition asked for either or scenario. Our attorney wasn't confident if we would be approved for the line of credit. Our original attorney. So we had asked for both. Jonathan will be living with us for the rest of his life. I mean, that's always been, is my understanding, been transparent.
It's not, I'm not concerned about that. It's just that those funds need to be used for him. So if there was a portion of those funds that would go to specifically putting together something like an area where he would be living in or special aspects of the construction, that's understandable. But just to build the whole family a house with his money was not something I would have approved.
We didn't build a home. We didn't have room in our other home. The reason that we purchased a home was because the home that we were in was specifically to get him access to the autism center, which ultimately led us to this settlement. We moved away from where we lived to come see, and we commuted for 7 years so that he could initially get those services. And then we were stuck there. All we did was move back where I'm confused.
So was the amount of the trust fund that you used the entire purchase price for this property? That's
Yes.
okay. So the entire property was paid for funds out of funds that are in
And
your son's
it's
trust
in
fund.
the trust name. Yes, we pay the taxes, we pay the utilities, we pay, yeah, we paid for the upgrades to the house. All of that stays with the house.
Okay, what I'd like to do, Ms. Kelly, is adjourn this for a month and ask you to put something together with your clients that accurately reflects what occurred as a use of the authority that was granted by the petition for authority to use trust assets and what the current arrangements are as far as what they're paying for and what the funds were paid for me to review before I approve this, and also to thoroughly clarify what's happening for the file.
Thank you. So just to clarify, in the long form accounting that we submitted, the itemized assets remaining, so bottom of page 2 there, it does list the value of the house, the MyAble account, and the Morgan Stanley. Is the court asking for something akin to a lease that shows the arrangement between the trust and the parents? What would be most useful? I just want to make sure we give you exactly what you need.
Yes, well, and that's what I'm trying to figure out, Ms. Kelly, is what is the arrangement? Because right now, what it looks like is the trust bought a home for the family, which was not an authorized use of the trust funds. And she's telling me that they're helping pay the bills and helping do some other things, but none of that is reflected anywhere in the file. So there should be some kind of arrangement, yes, in order to understand what's actually happening with the trust funds and the family. So that's what I'm asking you to do, is figure that out and put it together in a way that's understandable and clear for the file, so that I can decide whether or not there's a problem here that arises to the level that further action needs to be taken because the trustees have acted outside, potentially outside of their authority.
I see. Okay. That's useful. And I did wonder about that when we were preparing this, because they're paying property taxes and utilities. We did debate on whether that would be considered, some type of income or not, but because, yeah, I understand what the court is saying. So we're happy to lay out more of the nuance of those arrangements. Ultimately, the balance of the assets remaining in the trust is more than $30,000 than it started with because of the way the home and everything is owned. We're happy to break that down.
Well, it's not though, because the assets are not in the form that they were before. There's a house in there now versus the funding that was there before. So I'm looking forward to understanding better how this all occurred, and I'm willing to give you some time to put something together. How about we come back on March 6th and we can do this at 9:30?
March 6th at 9:30 works for me. Caitlin and Jonathan?
Okay.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Very good.
All
And then
right.
we of course will have some papers before the court ahead of time for review.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Unless there's any questions,